Welcome to our webinar on building your virtual bench. So let's start talking about how to build your virtual bench. Think of it like our sales call process. If you really think about it, virtual bench recruiting process is very similar. It starts with prospecting, which is basically finding potential candidates. And then once you find the potential candidates, then you need to build a relationship with them. After a time, you'll determine that they could be a great candidate for White Lodging. You'll need to qualify them using our CTI. Once they are on your bench, it's up to you to keep the relationship going until we have a position for them. Finally, once we have a potential position, help them to accept the position or close, gain commitment. So let's talk about the first step, prospecting. As I said earlier, it's important to know what you're looking for before you start looking for them. So let's talk about what you need to look for. We already have the competencies defined for A players in White Lodging from our Divine assessment. The key competencies that we're looking for are achievement focus, executing for results, leadership, strategic thinking, directing others, judgment, results orientation, and modeling effective behavior. And to kind of understand what each of these are, just look to the right, and each competency has a definition. Also in your toolbox, there'll be a list of these competencies and ways that you'll be able to see these competencies when you're meeting people and you're trying to understand if they're a good fit or not. So, where do you look for these prospective A players? Well, let's start in your own market with face-to-face. Local organizational meetings, whether it's a chamber meeting or it's a meeting about your brand or going to brand conferences. Also, there's all sorts of organizations like young leader organizations that you can join to meet people face-to-face. The second way to look for candidates for your virtual bench is to think about people you went to school with. Are they ready for a change? Do you think that they would be great for White Lodging? Also, people that you worked for or with in the past, or people that they know, would they be great for White Lodging? There is one more obvious method for prospecting that we need to talk about today, and that's social media. There are many ways to connect in the online world. One way is to join LinkedIn. Do a search for the type of positions you're looking for. Then, when you find them, reach out to them via LinkedIn email. Start a conversation. Ask them about their company. Remember, it takes time to build a relationship before you can ask them to be on your bench. On LinkedIn, there are literally hundreds of groups to join. See which one suits your interest and join in the conversation. Watch who's adding value to the conversation. What groups are they in? Those are the types of people that you may want to reach out to. Also, as you link to people, you have the ability to look at their links and see who you might be able to potentially link to. Your network will grow exponentially. Another place to look is Facebook. While LinkedIn is the professional networking place, Facebook is more of a personal networking site. Still, you can see who your friends are and who your friends are friends with. Again, the more people you can access, the more opportunity to find that person for your bench. Once you think that you have found some potential candidates online, there are a couple of things you can do to dig a little deeper. Do a Google search on the individual. Just go to google.com and type in their name. See what comes up. Have they won any awards? Have they posted any negative stuff about their company or boss? What, if anything, would affirm that they are an A player to you? Do they have a blog that you can follow? Do they have a Twitter account? If so, follow them. See what they're posting. Another clue is whether they are practicing appropriate social media etiquette or not. You can also use search engines to find them and to see what additional information is out there. Sites like PQ or Wink are just a few that you can use. There's also a new phenomenon that is occurring called tweet crawls. This is where a group of people who have met online get together in a social environment to meet each other, either online or face-to-face. At the end of the day, the secret to building your network is to try to make one new contact every day and start the conversation. There is additional information on your social media in your toolbox. There are also conversation starters in your toolbox. Now that you've started the conversation and you think you found a potential A player for the bench, the key is to continue the relationship. There are several ways. Weekly online correspondence through email or through your social media channels. If it's in market, maybe you get together monthly for a lunch. A weekly or a monthly phone call goes a long way. And invitations to local meetings and events are a great way to get together. Are there any other ways that you can think of? By the way, at this point in time, if you haven't already, you may want to share your names of your candidates with your GM or RVP. So you've been out there and you've been filling the funnel and trying to meet people, and you've met a bunch of people, and it might be starting to become difficult to keep track of all these people. So there's a couple of tools that you can use to help track progress. The first one is a simple organizational chart. What if you had an organizational chart for each hotel in your market, and then as you or your colleagues meet your counterparts in these hotels, you determine which might be great fits for White Lodging, and you put them on the org chart. Another tool that we're going to ask everyone to use is a recruiting share shifter board. You can either use an enlarged version on the wall or just keep a paper-sized one up to date and bring it to your accountability meetings to discuss with your GM. Now that the relationship is moving along, the next step is to qualify the candidate for the bench. Even before asking them to CTI, you want to make sure that you learn enough about the person to see if they're a right fit, have the right skills and competencies for a successful career in White Lodging. Just remember that after this process, there's still the CTI, which can also help determine fit. There's a couple different ways that we can get to know the candidate a little bit better. One of them is obviously over a longer process. You get to know them over time, but it can also be shorter. We already mentioned by doing the online search. That was one way to get to know a little bit more about the candidate. Another way is by doing a site inspection of the hotel that they currently work at. So let's spend a couple minutes talking about the site inspection. There's some homework that you have to do before the actual visit. First, you want to see what brand is the hotel affiliated with, and is there any way that you can access any information on GSS or any maybe star data. Also, go to TripAdvisor, see what the guests are saying about that hotel. Another place to look is to talk to your sales team at your hotel. Have they talked to any of their clients who have given them feedback on the other hotels? You may also want to ask your associates if they have any friends or if they know anybody at the other hotels and what feedback they may have. You know, market reputation of the hotel staff. Have you heard a lot about them? Do they have a lot of turnover? These would all be things that would be indications of whether or not this is a good candidate. Next, we arrive at the hotel. And the first thing you want to do is look at the parking lot. What does that look like? Is there curb appeal? Is the entrance area clean? What about the front desk or the bell stand or valet if they're in full service? Are they using the greeting zone? Are they professional and attentive, or are they laid back and sloppy? Is everyone selling or upselling? Are they suggesting their restaurant or other services? As you're walking around the hotel, you want to look at things like the cleanliness and maintenance all around you. Pay attention to the friendliness of all the associates you pass. How about in the restaurant? What was the experience like? You know, great leaders tend to have great associates that are engaged and providing guests with great guest experiences. Is that what your experience was? If not, you may want to look somewhere else. In your toolbox is an actual virtual bench site inspection checklist. This checklist can help you to prepare for your visit. I wouldn't pull it out when you're at the hotel, though. Use it before and after your visit. Okay, so you've done your homework. You've been steadily building the relationship. Now it's time to fully qualify them. The first step is to ask them to take our critical thinking inventory. This assessment is used to help determine whether a person has the business acumen, ability to see cause and effect, and the intellect needed for positions within White Lodging. I'll recommend on this assessment is what's needed to put them on your virtual bench. We have provided you with sample scripts in your toolbox to help you on how to ask them to take a CTI and also how to communicate back the results. It's important to remember that once your candidate has been qualified and on your bench, don't forget about them. The same methods that you used while building the relationship are the same methods to use in continuing the relationship. You and your candidate have built up a great relationship, and now White Lodging has a position available that would be a perfect fit. You'll want to discuss the position with your bench candidate and see if they're interested. If they are, direct them to the posting and ask them to complete an application in the ATS. Next, if you're not the hiring manager for this position, you'll want to make the first introduction with your candidate and the person who is doing the hiring. Remember, regardless of who the hiring manager is, they'll need to complete a Divine and go through the top grading interview. If they're hired, the next step for you is to start building your bench again. But now that you know the process, you should have success in no time. As we wrap up our training, I just wanted to review the contents of the toolbox with you. The toolbox is located in our intranet under Learning Services. In the toolbox, we have a recruitment sales call process. We have our virtual bench talent share shifter board, our virtual bench customized question sheet, our CTI scripts, a competency list for operations and sales, a virtual bench site inspection checklist, the referral program details, a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, social media suggestions and how-tos, and finally, social media etiquette. So, let's recap. Step 1, identify potential bench candidates. Review the candidate list with your GM or RVP. Step 2, begin to build rapport. Step 3, qualify each candidate. Step 4, maintain a positive relationship. Step 5, discuss opportunity within the company. And step 6, candidate applies for the position in ATS. Thank you for your time and attention today, and thank you for all you do every day. As we wrap up, remember that for White Lodging to grow and achieve our vision, and for you to have the career that you want, we all need to be focused on building our virtual benches. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask your GM, RVP, or any member of the Talent and Learning Services team.